In the last video, we looked at what Samba is, how to determine if it's installed, and then how to install it. And we just touched on what the configuration file is. In this video, we're going to look at a little bit more of the configuration, specifically as it relates to the CyberPatriot competition. Samba's configuration can be very complex. There's a lot of options, and we're only going to cover a small portion of those. Again, specifically those items that I think may show up in the competition. So we're going to go ahead and edit the SMB.comp file. We're going to use gedit, our graphical editor, and since we're going to be using our graphical editor, we're going to use gksudo as opposed to just sudo. And since I'm in that directory, I can just type in smb.conf. One other thing I want to do is throw an ampersand at the end. Basically throw this into the background so I can utilize this terminal again. So within the smb.conf file, there's two main sections we're going to be working in. That's the global, which we see right here within the square brackets, and then down in the share definitions. Now, as we go through this file, you're going to notice some lines start with a pound sign and with a semicolon. Both of those are comments. However, the pound sign is for a true comment, something that you're not going to uncomment, and the semicolon are for essentially options, features that are commented out, and if you want to enable them, you uncomment them. So again, looking at this from a competition perspective, what we want, one of the things we want to look at is right here, the workgroup line, and this is specifying the name of the workgroup, and we want to make sure that matches what the workgroup is on the Windows box. So if we actually look at a Windows box, we can see here the workgroup name is workgroup. So make sure it matches within the Samba system. This is where that's specified. In a competition, they may specify you're supposed to set up a Samba server that is shared with the company name of abc.com. So in this area, you would change that from workgroup to abc.com. Okay. The next item is the security level. So Samba can be used in multiple different security modes. One is which is a share. There's also a user, which we're going to use here, and join in Active Directory domain. Those are all different security levels. In a competition, I think the only thing that would be using is possibly this user, security equals user, where it may come pre-configured security equals share, or may not have anything. So in a competition, if they specify the security level requires usernames, authorized usernames and passwords, you want to make sure the security level is set to user. So now we'll go down to the share section. And so that you understand how that works, we're going to go ahead and create a new share. So shares are defined by putting the name in these square brackets. So here I've defined a share called temp. I'm going to go ahead and put in a comment. And then here I want to go ahead and say path equals temp. Now this is where you tie the share to a directory in the file system. So again, for competition purposes, this may be an area you need to look into. Maybe there's a share out there that's sharing the root of the entire file system. So if we saw something like that, we probably know we don't want that. So if they specified you need to have a share that's a particular user's directory, so for example, home, username, documents, that's the format that would be in. But we're just going to go ahead and put that back to our temp directory. Now, one of the other items that they may or may not have on there is the use of the ability for essentially an anonymous individual, i.e. everyone, to be able to access a share. And that's controlled through the guest OK equals true, false, yes, no. And I'm just going to go ahead and say no so that we can take a look at what this looks like. So I'm just going to stop with that. I want to hit save. Come back over to my terminal. I'm going to run a sudo service samba reload to reload the configuration file. And now I'm going to go over to my Windows box. And we're going to go into our network neighborhood to browse, and here we see our Ubuntu system. So here we see that we have this temp share, but when you double click on it, it prompts us for a username and password. So it's prompting us for that because two things. We said the security level was share. I'm sorry, not share. The security level was user. And we said guest OK equals no. So if we come back over here and we change this from guest OK equals no to yes, save it, reload, and come back over to our Windows box. If we now double click on it, we can now get into that directory. So by changing guest OK from no to yes, that means essentially an anonymous user can access that folder, that share. So that may be something in the competition that they may have. They may have guest access equals OK, and you need to secure it. So you secure that by changing that to no. Now one of the other options is it may say, well, users can read the files, but they should not be able to write new files or modify existing files. So right now, if we tried to create a new folder in that, or new file, we see that we get denied permissions to do so. So if we come back over to our Ubuntu system, into our config, and on here, if we change or we add in a line, read only equals no, that now makes that a writable directory or writable share for the users. So if we go back over to our Windows system, I'm just going to go ahead and close out the connection and go back into network, go back here, go back into my temp share, and now do a new text document. It's still denying me, and sometimes you just got to give it a minute for it to refresh. So let's just, meanwhile, let's go back over to our Ubuntu machine and look at another option. So another option is the browsable feature. So browsable, again, being yes or no. Essentially, with yes, that makes it a visible share. If we change that to no, it makes it a hidden share. So we'll just keep it at yes for now. We'll go ahead and reload. Now while I am reloading this, Samba will reread its configuration file. I believe it's once every minute. So you don't typically have to do that, but we're kind of forcing it to reload the config because we don't want to wait around. So let's come back over here to our Windows box. And let's try to create our file now. And now we are able to. So let's put in test2. And here you can see we can edit the file or add a new file, and here's an original one. And you can see we can modify existing files. And again, that's controlled through this line here of read only equals no. If that was read only yes, then we wouldn't be able to edit those. Now I want to change this over from browsable from yes to no. Save this, reload the configuration, and go back over to Windows. And again, have to give it a minute while we're waiting. Again, what that does is it changes it from a browsable no, makes it basically a hidden share. So let's go back over to our Windows box. And now you can see we don't see that share anymore. The share still exists, we just don't see it. If we know the share exists and we know the path, we just type it in. And there we go, we have access to it. So within Windows, access to hidden shares. So if we just look at localhost, there we go, we see our shares. Those are the non-hidden browsable shares. However, if we want to see a hidden share, by default Windows creates two, $, and admin $. The hidden share in Windows is created with the $. So all we have to do is type in the $, at the end and we can see it. So there, admin $, in here, C $. So the use of browsable equals no is the equivalent of hiding a share within Windows with the $. So that's another area within the competition that they may specify that you have a share that you want to be hidden. You would change that from browsable equals yes to browsable equals no. And I think for the competition, that may be about the depth of how far we want to go into this. I may do another video with a little bit more on the security, but we'll cut this video short at this point. Thank you.